99% of us in this country have not been taught how to manage their money. Oh, look, you've got lots of money. Would you like a car? Yay! It doesn't occur to you, on the whole, that you have to pay it back. They talk about borrowing money. You don't. You rent it. I was 10 grand in debt. I just suddenly thought, stop, I've got to deal with this. And yeah, I paid it off in a year.
So there's three types of money. There's wasted money, there's spent money, and there's invested money. What do you want more of? It's
a bit like Vegas much of the time. There's no windows.
I've never heard of that comparison. It's like Vegas. I like it. Okay, Jasmine, let's talk about something that's so important for the health of the nation, personal finance. You know, that's a big cause of stress for a lot of people. Where does someone start when they start to look at the personal finances?
Oh, that's a huge question, because it depends what sort of state you're in when you do that. But generally, when people start looking at their finances, it's because they have to. It's because everything's gone...
Stress position.
Yeah, stress position, absolutely. Because, let's be honest, I would say 99% of us in this country have not been taught how to manage their money, including me. Yeah. Nobody taught me. My parents said, keep out of debt. So, of course, I got into debt. First time I got a credit card. You know, why wouldn't you? So we don't know anything. We're thrown out into the world quite often as a student or just, you know, as a young adult. Go, there you are, you cope. Here's a credit card, here's some loans. Oh, look, you've got lots of money. Would you like a car? Would you? And, you know, you think, yay, all your birthdays and Christmases come at once. It doesn't occur to you, on the whole, that you have to pay it back. And with interest, which, of course, is rent. You know, when they talk about borrowing money, you don't. You rent it. And it costs you, in terms of interest, to rent that money. And suddenly what happens, and I speak from bitter experience myself, because I've been in debt in the past, some time ago now, suddenly it hits you that not only are you in debt, but you're in massive debt. And how did it happen? Where did it come from? It just happens in like 6 months or something. Suddenly it balloons into something. You think, I can't cope with this. So it's usually at that point that you think, oh, I better sort of have a look at this. And what I often say to people, you know, regularly, because I do get asked, you know, what can I do? By friends sometimes, what can I do? I say, right, get a friend. All right, you know, if it's a friend of mine, I'll pop round, hold your hand, literally sometimes, and we'll get all your statements out. We'll have a look. We'll look at your bills. We'll open those horrible letters that you've probably stuffed in the drawer. Most people do. You don't want to have a look at it. And we'll just take an audit of what it is. And I would say every single time I've done that, which isn't a lot, but, you know, I hear from other people as well when they've done it, it's never quite as bad as you think. It's usually bad, but not as terrible as you think, you know. So what usually happens is you see, okay, I'm borrowing money from that lot, and I've got a debt with that one, and this. Oh, and look, I've got savings because I'm sensible. I put money into savings, of course. However, the amount I'm getting on my savings is not even half what I'm paying on my debts. Oh, so then you can go, all right then, which are the most expensive debts? And it's probably your credit card, or possibly car finance if you've got that. So then you think, right, I'll put as much money as I can into that, maybe take out most of my savings because, you know, what's the point? I'm losing money. Put that into there and pay the minimum on the rest. And then once I've paid that expensive one off, doesn't matter how much you've got is the interest rate, then you throw all your money at the next one. That's what I did. That when I was 10 grand in debt a few years ago. It was, when would it be? 99, I think, 99, 2000. And I just suddenly thought, stop. I've got to deal with this. So I worked literally 7 days a week. I'm freelance, so I worked 7 days a week. I didn't buy anything. I didn't go anywhere really, unless someone else was paying or it was free. And yeah, I paid it off in a year. I just went for it.
It's interesting though. You said a number of things in there. Number one, your story that you said at the end. Number one, I stopped. Yeah, I just had to stop. Yeah. So there's that moment where you have to stop. Yeah. But then the story that you told about when your friends were stressed with or couldn't cope with the financial situation. First thing you did, you went and held a hand. Yeah. That's a bit of reassurance, yeah.
Well, yeah, it is, because money is so emotional.
Yes.
Because it's a crazy thing, isn't it? Because you think money, and in the sort of quiet calm of normal day, you think, oh, that's numbers, which it is, you know. But what it also is, and what sort of messes you up is emotion. It does something really visceral to individuals if you've got a lot or if you've got minus amount. And even people who've got a lot of them feel poor. It's weird. It's a weird thing. It really isn't about the numbers. It's about how you feel about it. And in fact, another thing that I say, I do money management workshops as well as teaching people through my website, Money Magpie. But one of the things I suggest people do is do just a list. I'm trying to think, spending diary, that's what it's called. Do a spending diary once every few years. So when you're out, ideally do this for a whole month. Either take just a notebook with you, or there are some apps that will help you do it. And you just basically note down everything you spend. If it's a coffee, if it's a magazine, if it's a taxi, whatever, you write down everything you spend. And then you also add in some of the bills that you're paying as well, or all the bills you're paying. And then at the end of the month, you can see where your money's been going. Now, Alvin Hall, who used to do Your Money or Your Life or something like, TV series, is American. And he used to go, write down, how am I feeling? How am I feeling? Because money is emotional. And as he said, and I say, quite often we make stupid decisions. We spend stupid money on stupid things because we're a bit down, because we're confused, because we're harassed, all sorts of things. Now, I have to say, doing that didn't work with me. I'd go tea and cake. Feel all right, so it actually doesn't work for everybody, but that's why he did it, because we do make stupid, irrational decisions. So do very rich people, so do clever investors. Really irrational decisions because of emotion, fear or greed usually.
I want to say taught, but I heard this from someone. I thought, that resonates. So I'd see what you think about this. You're the expert on finance money here. So there's 3 types of money. There's wasted money. Mm-hmm. There's spent money, and there's invested money.
Yep.
And then this person, he said, what do you want more of? And of course, you choose the invested money. Eh? Of course you do. I mean, we're all guilty of spending money. Rich people, you said, make mistakes. Poor people make mistakes. Wasting money, spending money. What's the difference between wasting and spending, do you think?
Well, I think it's about what matters to you and money that you've thought about spending. So, it's all about balance. And as you say, investing for your future is really important, but spending now is really important. The thing is, I think what we're still not aware of is that it's war out there. We are in a very unequal war with online shops and services, high street shops and services, governments even. They're all wanting us to spend. They don't care whether we want to spend it. They don't care whether it's good for us. And just spend the money. They're going to spend the money. So it's actually important for us on a daily basis to just have a little sort of mental thing going at the back of your mind. Do I really want this? Do I need it for a start? Okay, might not need it, but do I want it? Is it really going to make me happy? Is it something that I need, or is it something that person needs? It might be something you need that's helpful to buy for someone else. Or am I just on autopilot? Because, you know what it's like. For example, supermarkets, they're really good at this. They have psychologists working for them. They know that when we go through the door, on the whole, we tend to turn right. So they put a lot of the sort of stuff they want to sell. You don't need it necessarily, but they want to sell it. So they'll put it, in your eye.
Well, why is it on the right? Is it?
Human beings. Don't know. Maybe because most of us are right-handed. I don't know, but that's what, they have these people who watch your footfall and see where you go. And so, at the front of those, you've got aisles, and the front bit, that's really prime real estate in a supermarket, because apparently we notice that. So there's lots of offers, which are not really offers. Whoever it is, whatever brand it is, has paid good money to be there. They'll put the expensive stuff at eye line, they'll put the less expensive stuff up there or down there. They'll have those smells. It's a bit like Vegas much of the time, because there's no windows. You go into a supermarket, you'll have noticed there's hardly any windows, so you don't really,
I've never heard of that comparison. It's like Vegas. I like it.
Because once you can't see the sun, you start to sort of forget where you are and who you are, and you're like, I'm not one of those. I've done this, I've come out of Sainsbury's, big one, with a massive thing of shopping, and I think, I live on my own. Why have I got all of that? But a lot of it was, nice stuff, which I never use for the next couple of years.
Yeah, look, I love your passion on this subject, and for somebody because finances do cause stress. There's no doubt about it. It wakes people up in the middle of the night.
Makes them ill. It literally makes them ill. Some GP surgeries now have debt advisors actually working, 1 or 2 days a week, because they have so many people who are physically as well as mentally ill because of money problems.
Yes. Is there anything else that people can do besides that? The logical conversation. Yeah. And I loved what you said. It was really reassuring, because the fear of it is actually a bit worse than what it actually is.
It really is. And I've spoken to highly intelligent, well-known people. In fact, I was on a BBC TV program recently with Gabby Roslin. She's a highly intelligent, very successful woman. She said, just the idea of money makes me go, oh, I can't think, bless her. And that's normal, sadly, because we haven't been taught it at school. We haven't been taught it by our parents. If we have been taught anything by our parents, it's usually something not helpful. You'll have one parent who's a spender and another one is really tight and worried about it. And maybe they've lost money and it's made the family. Who knows?
Is that the norm, by the way? Usually one's a spender, usually one's a little bit tighter.
Yes.
Is it?
It is. You get that a lot, and quite often one really has no interest in it at all, and the other one's going, what do you spend that for? And then another thing is when you have a couple, you'll have. Everyone has a different view of what's important to spend on. So, you would have, here's a very obvious example. I'm just thinking, a friend of mine, he only buys tools. He's got hundreds and hundreds of tools, loves them. And he tells me, I've just bought this. And his girlfriend just thinks it's appalling, but she's got 6 million shoes, and he doesn't. So quite often you've got that where they do not understand the importance of whatever it is that the other one is buying.
I need the shoes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's only like me saying I need a new toy, like a new iPad or I can't remember the exact phrase, but it basically said this, and it was a sexist joke about men, so I'm qualified to say it. The older I get, the bigger the toys get, basically.
Yeah. No, it's true.
The bigger and more expensive the toys get.
Yes.
It's such a manly type thing, that. But
it is. Well, we're all doing it. The other thing is you do get one that will be so hopeless that they're in permanent debt. And again, I'm thinking friends of mine where he just has no interest. And I have to not talk to him about his money because I'm like, and his wife is a really good businesswoman. So it got to the point where she just took over the finances. And that's quite a sensible way to do it. Where it doesn't matter who it is, male, female, whatever. Usually one of you is better than the other or less rubbish than the other at managing money. So they should
put them in charge.
Over it. Yeah, put them in charge. Why not?
They're responsible for the personal finances.
Yes.
Because in business, you've got a business budget, yeah? Mm-hmm. In personal, you've got a personal budget.
Yeah.
How many people, what percentage of people do you think actually have got an official written down personal budget?
I'd say about 1%.
1%? No way. It's got to be more than one.
It's got, I can't 10? Be... Maybe, just.
But you're qualified to answer that, not me.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I say that is when I do my workshops and things, I'll get people to put up their hands that, who does a budget? Because I talk about doing a budget, which is a horrible word, let's be honest. It's like pension, I really need to think of a new word for that. Forecast, that's a good one, yes.
Well, they use it in business, don't they? Yeah. Anything that's... a forecast is future looking.
It is future,
A report is backward looking.
Right, yes.
Bring your history in with you. Let's find out what there. But let's now project the future as bright as you want it to be.
Oh, that's a nice. Thank you. I'll use that because I ask them to put up their hands if they do a budget, and you have like 2 or 3, and I go, "Are you a parent?" Yes. So that's usually, by the time you're a parent, you think, "Oh, what's some budget?"
The best way to predict your future is to create your future, and that's what we're going to do in this workshop. Right now.
Yes,
everybody's going to create your future finances.
Like it.
That you're all uniquely in charge of. There you go.
That's fantastic. Yeah, that's really good. Because, frankly, if you can do your budget for yourself and, as you say, for business, it's not that much more to do it for a whole country, really. So, if we had more and more of us that were good at our own basic budgeting.
It's not that much more to do it for a whole country.
Well, it isn't, is it? I mean, you look at what they're doing, I think, there are a few people I can think of who could genuinely do a better job than that, because they know how to budget.
You keep speaking passionately. You carry on that. So, I mean, let's talk about a few other things that's, in society. Mortgages. Current mortgage rates is, there's a lot of eyes on that right now.
Yeah,
what's happening? What's your opinion on that?
I've been saying for a few years now that the Bank of England, essentially the government, has been entirely wrong to lock down. Firstly, I was and still am very against lockdown. Secondly, very, very wrong to print money like it was going out of fashion. Quantitative easing, as you know, that lovely, helpful word. Quantitative easing is a silly word. But anyway, it means printing money. That has created inflation, in my view. And the Governor of the Bank of England, Andrew Bailey, said a year and a half ago, printing money does not create inflation. And I'm shouting at the television, going, yes, it does. So because of that, we had inflation. It happened not just in this country, but in various other countries around the world. And traditionally, the way to reduce inflation is to make it more expensive to borrow money. So you put the interest rate up. So the Bank of England puts up their base rate. That means it's more expensive for the banks to borrow from them. So they put up the rate for the rest of us. In theory, it puts up our savings rates. But funny that it doesn't. Savings rates don't go up anything like what mortgage rates go. Strange, extraordinary. Who would have thought? The thing is that because really it's money printing and together with supply chain issues that I consider have created the inflation that we're having now. It's not about a buoyant economy where everyone is out there splashing their cash, buying stuff all the time. Making it more expensive to borrow, I consider, is not going to work. It's not helpful. I think inflation is going to come down for a bit anyway because the supply chains have improved, and people really, there are so many pressures on people's money, quite apart from borrowing it, that they are genuinely spending less. But I don't think that doing what they're doing at the moment, using this traditional old tool to bring inflation down, I don't think it'll work. I think it's going to cause immense amount of heartache and pain for a lot of families, people who are already struggling with all the extreme bill increases. I'm against it and keep saying that I'm against it, but Bank of England's not listening.
So what do you predict then in the short, medium and long term then for mortgages for people that's listening to it right now?
Right now, so from what I can see, what they're saying is that core inflation is not moving. The headline sort of CPI, the Consumer Prices Index, helpfully, again, there are lots of ways of working out inflation, different, there's the CPI, the RPI, it just makes it more complicated. That seems to be what they like. So we use the CPI, the Consumer Prices Index. So that seems to be edging down. But the basic inflation, really, what you could describe as real inflation, our real costs, isn't budging. I think they are going to continue to put interest rates up.
For how long?
Yeah, good question. See, this is right.
Are we talking 12 months, 24 months, less than that?
I think this year they will keep putting it up. I don't think they will next year. They're saying that inflation will come down next year properly, but they've been saying everything wrong so far, so I'm not taking much notice of that. But I think over the next 2 or 3 months they will continue to put interest rates up, because literally I don't think they care. They, Bank of England, government members, they just see it as collateral damage, really. And they are talking to the banks to ask them to be more lenient, to be more flexible. But there's only so far that they can go. If the banks are saying, well, we can't do this, we can't do that. Here are people who will probably not be paying their mortgages. They've already got more people who are not paying their mortgages, but there are going to be a lot more going forward. So, yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of pain and heartache that could have been avoided, frankly.
What impact have you seen all inflation has had on businesses?
Well, actually, yes, this is a very good point, because, again, when I'm talking about raising interest rates, I don't just talk about mortgages. I talk about small businesses, particularly. Bigger businesses tend, not always, but tend to have more of a sort of a margin. Small businesses don't. So that is something that is hitting small businesses and will horribly, I think, in the next couple of years at least, just the interest. But apart from that, inflation, what I've seen is it's been hitting high street operations, particularly food outlets, fish and chip shops. Who'd have thought, fish and chip shops and pubs, particularly, I've heard of having more problems than others. Fish has gone up a lot, oil has gone up, alcohol very much so. It does.
It seems weird in society, actually, because, like, I've got a family. The kids, I've got twins that are 7 and a 5-year-old as well. They can have a listen to this podcast, by the way. So I took them for fish and chips the other day, and my first thing in my mind is, wow, look at the prices of what it costs for a family of 5. Maybe £40, maybe £45 for average takeaway fish and chips. Which is massive inflation.
It is, and that's the point. It's going to get to the point where families like yours think, well, we were doing it once a month, we'll do it now once a quarter, and everyone's going to do that. And, fair enough. I mean, you've got to look after your family first.
It does hit.
And that's one of the things that I find I'm sort of in the middle, because much of the time I'm speaking to consumers, but I also work with small businesses, and I am a small business myself, and I run a small business. So, while I'm saying to individuals and families, watch your pennies, don't go out, make your own takeaways, all of that, I'm thinking, I'm taking business away from the small businesses.
I've always tried to look after my local type thing. I don't know where the mindset comes from, but that it was really nice, the fish and chips, and at the end of it, it was worth it. It was entertaining for the kids. Everyone enjoyed it, and it wasn't the healthiest, but it was good old traditional fish and chips.
I like my fish and chips every now and then.
What's going to give business owners, business leaders confidence regarding finance and the future?
You'll notice I'm not answering immediately.
It's a really important point.
It is. I'm one of the very few people who thought that much of what Liz Truss suggested was actually pretty sensible, because she was going for growth. She wasn't attacking inflation. She was going for growth, lower tax regime to improve business, to increase business, which in and of itself increases the tax take. Generally speaking, over time, we've seen that raising the tax level, which seems sensible and fair, and I do understand it tends to be a left-wing idea on the whole to increase taxes, particularly for the higher earners, perfectly reasonable on paper. In practice, it tends not to work. It tends to actually have the opposite effect. The richer people leave, they go to a low tax regime somewhere else. People don't work so hard, blah, blah, But if you reduce taxes, which is more of tends to be a more right-wing view, paradoxically, you get more because people do work harder. The richer people stay, the businesses work harder, they produce more, and therefore...
When you say work harder, what do you mean?
Well, I don't mean really work harder. I think they have more... They're more encouraged. Because, you were saying, what would it be?
You get a sense of, a dopamine hit. It's like, we get more here, so let's put more focus on it.
Exactly, more enthusiastic. So, frankly, what I've heard, and I'm sure you have from small businesses, and this is particularly those on high streets, is cut VAT, essentially cut tax, So if you at least cut VAT, that would give them a big fillip. It would give a boost. It would make them feel a bit more encouraged. And
does that mean
on its own?
But are you meaning to cut VAT? But if they don't charge the customers VAT, the prices remain the same, or you think the prices stay the same, don't charge VAT, the businesses get the uplift in profit margin?
Well, it depends. It depends on competition. If If you say you're like the fish and chip shop, if families like you are not going to come so much, if they brought the prices down, if their VAT was cut, then they could cut their prices, so then we could have you twice a month rather than just once a month, that kind of thing. So I think it'd be a mix, but I think on the whole, prices would at least for some time come down a bit. Yeah.
I mean, look, we've got to throw in the health as well. We're talking about the health from a financial perspective. I'm talking about health from a physical perspective. Yeah. Going a couple of times a month, so we've got to talk in that. I mean, as an example, our fish and chip shops, are they responsible for it being healthy?
Well, it's a good point. It depends. The thing is, if everything's expensive, you're not going to spend much on anything. But if more things are cheaper, if the fish and chip shops are cheaper, that's probably going to be the gyms that will be cheaper as well. My gym put their prices up because they said all our prices have gone up. And it's true. I know it's true. So if their VAT was cut as well as, the chip shops and the pubs and whatever, then we have the choice. We can spend all the time in the pubs and the chip shops, or we can spend all our time and money in the gym. Up to us. Yeah.
When I was driving the other day, I was thinking to myself, just economics having an impact on society from a health perspective. If they made the healthier foods a lot cheaper, because if I was in France last week, in Paris, and there was a melon in the shop. I'm not kidding, a melon, and they were giving free tasters, and it was beautiful tasting melon. Yeah. It was €9.
It's a lot. That's
€9.
Yeah, it is amazing. Yes.
Which is crazy. It tends to be that the fruits and vegetables they've gone up massively as well.
They have, and so have eggs, bread, pasta, those sort of things. Yeah, and it's interesting that you say about France, because friends of mine in Paris and in south of France, they all say that food in London is cheaper than where they are. How does that happen? This is something I do not understand. France, particularly, same with Italy. I've got friends in Rome who say, "Oh, it's much cheaper in London." We think it's horrendously expensive.
Well, that's a nice perspective though, because the grass ain't greener anywhere else.
No. This is the thing. Now we have a higher rate of inflation than the average across Europe, at least Western Europe, not Eastern Europe. Most of the Eastern European countries have much higher inflation rate. But the core basic price of food is higher there. And France particularly, that's so wrong. I mean, they've got so much farming. How? It doesn't make sense.
Well, maybe they want to make a margin.
Yeah, maybe.
There you go. So, in terms of giving confidence, I made a few notes here, and I think you can, even in this early part of the conversation we've had here, manage your finances. That will give you confidence, because when you start talking about it, was very logical. What's coming in, what's going out, let's have a look at this. Also investing, putting more focus on investing, what's going to give you more return. And that whole forecast thing is a confidence booster for people.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're absolutely right, because money isn't the most important thing in life. Of course, it's relationships and health, but I would say third is money. But what I always say is
that's really nice, by the way. Health, relationships, are they joint first?
Yeah, I guess I put relationships first and then health, because I think, again, health comes from thinking and relationship.
You're up there with Dale Carnegie, because he wrote the book How to Win Friends and Influence People, early 1900s, and he basically said the key to success in life is not fame or fortune. The key to success in life is deep, real, lasting relationships. That's success.
Yeah.
And that's got a place in my heart. I read that book every year. So health, relationships. Maybe you're putting relationships up there. Well, is that because we're more bothered about other people than ourselves, do you think?
I think a sense of love, and I mean real love. I actually mean spiritual love.
Yes.
I think it's our relationship with God, having a sense of our relationship with God, universal divine love. Yeah. That is the number one. And once you have that, everything else falls into place, including the body. And certainly if you want lasting, loving relationships with others, and who doesn't really, it has to start with your sense of God, which gives you your sense of yourself. Spiritual, absolutely. And I've had this all my life. I've been learning this all my life, and that informs your relationships with others, which informs your health and well-being.
What are some of the biggest learning points you've had on that subject then?
Oh gosh, there've been quite a few. I'm trying to think of the biggest. Because honestly, it's a daily thing. Yeah. It really is a daily thing. And what I'm learning is more than daily. It's moment by moment.
Interesting.
Growing one's sense of God's presence. And when I say God, I mean love, infinite divine love. The one mind, infinite mind, soul, spirit, the one life, truth. And as one sort of keeps turning away, and it's sometimes, you have to kind of force yourself, because one is so hypnotized and, if you like, magnetized by what's sort of going on, what seems to be going on materially, humanly, much of which is pretty unpleasant much of the time. To turn away from that, keep turning to God and listening to God, then in that sort of moment by moment thing, and I'd love to be able to say that I do it all the time. Of course I don't, but more and more as you do it, it becomes more natural, and it becomes more where you really live, in real terms.
Yeah, I like a number of things that you've said there. So, like, becoming spiritually enlightened, whatever you want to say, it can improve day by day. Mm-hmm. But then you said moment by moment.
Yeah.
And I think what happens then is you begin to accept things on a different plane.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I think this originally came from Mother Teresa. The only pain in life is resisting what is. And for example, my finances are in a terrible way. But yeah, if I'm connected spiritually and I've got the sense of calmness about myself, mm-hmm. I can accept that and deal with it in a different way.
Yes, you can. And what you also find, and I've certainly had this experience a number of times in my life, is that sources of income and sources of supply, which is a different thing from money. Supply, is getting what you need, which can come in all sorts of ways. They start to open up and flow. I found that a few times. I've always been freelance, never had a job. Nasty things, jobs. Ugh, no.
You've always had a guaranteed salary of zero.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's a really neat way of looking at it, by the way.
It is. That's a very good one.
You said earlier on, the first thing you did was stop spending, and the second thing you went, I focus on my 7 days a week.
Yeah, absolutely. Went for it. Yeah, I did.
On a guaranteed salary of zero.
Yes, exactly.
Which is all of the entrepreneurs, the business owners listening right now, exactly the same as that.
Yeah, it is. And
stop wasting money.
Yeah.
Start doing what you're good at to make more money.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. And also, what I started to learn is that good is real, and it's a sort of seismic shift in the way most of us think. Most of us think there's a little bit of good, and it's a limited amount, and we all basically have to fight to get our little bit of that good, little bit. And what I was learning is that good is another word for God. I've talked about God already, but it genuinely is. It's, the Saxon word for God is good. That's where we get it from. And that is literally infinite. It really is infinite, and it's infinite and available to everybody. So that includes me.
That's a good confidence boost, though.
Isn't it? So you're starting from substance. You're not starting from nothing. You're not starting from.
That's emotional substance, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is. Well, it does give you emotional, but it's based on reality. I mean, you can kind of try and convince yourself of it, but unless you really accept the truth of it, it's not really going to work. But once you accept the truth of it, which is all the way through the Bible, for example, then you actually get a genuine internal sense of the substance, the solid substance of good. So that's where you're starting from, that there is good. It's for me, it's for you, it's for you, it's for you, it's for everybody. And therefore, let's just be quiet and grateful. I'm sure you've heard that one as well. And let's see what comes. And when I've done that, it's amazing what comes along. Really is. Things open up. It's sometimes like a flood. Yes.
It attracts more good things back.
It does.
Is it kind of karma, that?
I guess it is a bit like karma, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, do you know Mary Portas?
Yeah, I know of her. I don't know her, but yes.
Yeah, so we interviewed her not long ago, actually, and remarkable lady. And, you know, one of the big takeaways were, you better be a good person first, because if you're not, you'll be found out right now.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, good for her.
And she thinks that even in business, you know, it's that way inclined, you know, with media, the way it is. So you've got to be a good, genuine human being at the centre of everything. So you've wrote a few books, haven't you?
Yes, I've written 38, yeah. A lot of them are small, though. This is the thing. If you want to write lots of books, make them about that size, which is why...
Yeah, where people can do this.
Yes, exactly. Lots of... Basically, I used to be the Little Book Queen. All these little joke books. My bestseller, which did get into a Times bestseller list, is about this
Sunday
sort of
Times.
size. Yes, Sunday Times bestseller. It's about that size, and it's just got, offensive, not rude jokes, just... it's called A Little Book of Abuse.
Okay.
So it just has... comebacks, sort of the sort of thing.
So that's a Sunday Times bestseller. Is that your favourite one, or is that the best?
It's my favourite in that I earned the most money from it.
That's
actually a
and by the
bestseller.
way, money is the third most important thing. You heard it here today. Health and relationships. You choose the order. Money is third.
Yeah.
Except that. Is money third for everybody?
No, not for everybody. But it's it's one of those things that.
Why not for everybody?
Well, not everybody. It depends how much you need to do with it. Some people manage to be paid for,
but we've got to also accept that it's part of the way of the world.
Yes, it is. And it needs to be put in its place. And I'm glad you said that, because, again, another thing that I say in my talks is that money needs to be where this chair is. It needs to be supporting your way of life. It shouldn't
You're making me sit with a good posture.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it mustn't be something that you're running after, forward, and it mustn't be something that's behind you, scaring you, or worrying about this. It should be, underneath you. It should be put in its place, because, as you say, it's the way of the world. It's something that you just need, like food. Food is stuff we have to eat, to keep yourself going. Money, stuff you have to have to, make the oils of commerce, just to get this, that, and the other. So it should be put there. And once it's been put there, then you can go and think about other things and just have your life. But I often actually do connect it with food, because, with eating, you don't have to be a qualified nutritionist to eat healthily. You just need to get some bit of a knowledge, the food groups. It's not a good idea to have too much fat and sugar,
I don't know. I think most people are educated. I think discipline's half the, and comfort and, sugar, all this addiction that people
money, that same thing with money. Because we go, I'm worth it. Feeling a bit down, so I thought I'd go and spend money. Yeah. That makes you worse, Same with eating sugar, lots of sugar, bit of a high, bit of a low.
You're killing me. You're hitting me.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a book called Happy Money by Ken Honda.
Oh, right, yes.
And fantastic book. Yeah. And it really does talk about your personal relationship with money. Mm-hmm. And there's the classics of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I'm sure you've come across.
Yes.
Sharon Lecter, she talks about wealth creation. So, do you ever ask people that? What is your relationship with money like, or is it too wide of a question?
Yeah, probably is. I don't ask that, but it's a good question. Whether people would be able to answer it is another thing, but at least it would get them thinking. I probably would need to say, are you afraid of it? Are you happy with it?
What about,
is it something you bother about?
Describe your relationship with money. Would that channel someone?
It might do. That's a good one. I'll ask my readers. Go on then. What's your relationship with money? Do you know? Do you have an idea?
Well, let's ask you now. What's your relationship with money? Describe yours.
Yeah, I think utilitarian. I see it as a useful thing.
Interesting.
Yes, utilitarian primarily. It's not something that makes me happy, but it is something that makes me content in a degree. I mean, I think, as I say, I like to have it here, sort of supportive. I like to have it supportive. But it's not something that I find especially interesting. I have a utilitarian view. So you think, okay, you go there, you go there, you go there. Okay, have I got some surplus? Right, get rid of that. Give that to that person. Give that to that person. It's gone down a bit. Right, stick it up a bit. Right, fine. And then go and think about something more interesting instead.
So did that question work for you then, to understand it on a deeper level?
Yeah, I guess it did in a way. Yes.
But let's remember, we're preaching to the converted here. You're the queen of this.
Queen of cash.
Queen of cash. Have you been called that a number of times? Is that your nickname?
Yes, one of them.
Right, let's talk about these 38 books. Mm-hmm. How to make money from your talent.
That's a nice one. That's not mine, but it's a good idea.
But how do you do that?
Okay, yes, interesting. We've got into whole other subject here now. We're back to freelancing. We're back to running your own business.
Yeah.
And actually, one of the workshops that I do, I haven't done it recently, but I used to do it quite a lot, was how to be your own brand. And this comes from my own experience as a freelancer, then small business person, CEO, etc. Because very early on, I've been a freelance journalist all of what I laughingly call my career, as well as doing all sorts of other stuff, being a comedian, doing actress, writing.
What was that like, being a comedian?
Oh, it's like gladiatorial combat without the armour.
I reckon it's one of the most mentally challenging things to ever do.
Yeah, it's really good experience, really good training. I mean, once you've done stand-up, live audience going...
Easy.
Anything else, I can do live television, like whatever, so long as I know what I'm talking about. If I don't know, then that's a bit of a worry, but if I do know what I'm talking about, not bothered at all. I've done acting, been in a acting troupe, doing plays, comedy plays and whatever. Not a problem, because you've got other people on the stage with you, you're not on your own. Doing stand-up, yeah, it's like gladiatorial combat without the armour, and it's really good training for life.
Has that made you part of who you are today?
Yes, I think so. I think it's made me more fluent. I think it's given me some strength.
Did that help you get onto TV?
Yes and no. I would say, yeah, in a way it did, because I was doing TV at the time anyway, just as a news reporter.
Did you get trained in that?
No. You have to. You learn it on the job.
Yeah,
really.
You do. Yeah.
And stand up did help me become more fluent and less sort of stiff and speaking like this into the camera.
Do they teach you the sort of BBC hands at this level type thing?
They just go and do it. And maybe some people might get trained. I don't know. I never did. You just sort of. Yeah, trial and error, basically, which is what comedy is, largely. You can go and do stand-up.
Is that what life training.
Is? Yeah.
But it's a bit more scientific when you start to do your forecasts.
Yes.
And decide where you want to invest. That whole decision-making piece, what I'm getting from this is it's super crucial for business leaders right now.
Yes.
To make informed decisions around finances.
Yes, because particularly, as you say, if you do your forecast and if you do it really honestly with yourself, and that's one of the hard things I find, because I think, oh yes, we'll sell loads of, yes, it'll be fine, and really inside that it's not going to be. I think at this stage you might be able to cut out quite a lot of pain by going, this isn't going to work. People are literally not spending on whatever it is that I produce. They really aren't, and they're going to spend even less going forward.
Right.
Let's draw a line under it and go in another direction now.
What are some of the biggest financial mistakes that you see people making?
Well, I only have to look at my own experience. Do you talk about personal experience or in their businesses?
Either or.
Oh, right.
Either or, whichever springs to mind.
Well, one of the biggest ones, I think, is borrowing and not realising how much it's going to cost to pay it back. One thing I am surprised, now that's obviously for people, personalities, but I very much see it in business and small business. And for years now, it's almost like the first thing when you see government advice, stuff on gov.uk or all sorts of advice for setting up a small business, practically the first thing they say is how to get funding. And I don't like that. I like the idea of a lean startup best, because the moment you get funding, unless it's literally given to you, unless it's a grant, and that's, in my view, the only sort of funding to get, you've already burdened yourself. You've got a loan, and then you're going to have to pay interest on that loan. That's
some people are pretty skilled at investing wisely, aren't they? And turning that borrowed money, never putting anything down,
True.
And using someone else's money to make more money.
Yeah, and that's basically what they say about it. Investing in property, using borrowed money to leverage.
Safest way, yeah.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And so if you are clever like that, and you can see an absolute surefire. Say your business is investing in property, running, and you've got an HMO, home multiple occupancy, that is currently netting 11%, and you could get it. Well, you've already got a mortgage for 2.5%. Well, yeah, kind of that does absolutely make sense. But if you're not 100% sure, and when you start off a business, frankly, honestly, you're not.
It's like, business is a game of risk. Yeah?
It is, absolutely.
It's about calculated risk, not risk.
Yes, and quite often. And this is another mistake I see in small businesses. People set up businesses in things that they like, not necessarily what customers want.
Yeah.
So I remember, say 10 years ago, I used to do workshops. I was talking about how to be your own brand, how to set up your own business. And I'd have every time I did it, I'd have 3 or 4 women. It was always women who were saying, I want to do Reiki. And I didn't know anybody who wanted Reiki done on them. I knew lots of people who wanted to have a Reiki practice, but hardly anyone who actually wanted it done to it. So, immediately there's a bit of an issue there. So that, I would say, is one of the big problems for new businesses setting up.
Why do people make these mistakes then of taking on money without realising what they're going to be paying back, or setting up the wrong or setting up a business where it's because it's what they like, not what people want?
Yeah.
Why do people make those mistakes?
Well, I think firstly it's ignorance. We're not taught, money.
Ignoring risks.
Yes, ignoring risks. That's a good one. But ignorance of interest and borrowing and compound interest and what that is. Even, smart business people.
What's the cost of making these mistakes? Because it's not just material cost, is it?
No, that's true. Bankruptcy could be, but you can really lose a lot. You can lose your relationships I'm amazed at people who put, they get a mortgage on their home to set up a business, and that's putting the roof over your head at quite a lot of risk. And if that risk goes bad, you've lost your home and quite often your relationship as well. So yeah, that can be a problem.
And when you put it like that, it is a seriously important thing in life, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's the key to people's financial situation then?
Well, you mean to the key to making it better?
Yeah, that's what everyone wants who's listening right now. What's the key to making their financial situation better?
Well, I can put in one sentence how to become rich and fabulous. Well, obviously we're all fabulous already, but it's basically...
But we're not all rich and fabulous. That's a good point.
You'd hope so. But to basically, the long-term path to riches is to spend less than you earn and invest what's left over, and just keep doing that. Boring, straightforward, every month, probably automating, setting up a standing order from your bank account into savings and ideally investments. Savings are short-term, investments are long-term. And just being that boring, just every month, money going in.
Spend less than you earn, invest the rest.
It's not hard. And the thing is, over time, and I'm talking over a few years, after 5 years, you can look at it and think, ooh, look, I've got quite a lot of money. How did that happen? And it's just your standing orders. And particularly if you do it, you spread your money, your investments. And this is one of the number one rules for investing: spread your bets. Always spread it into different things. Stocks and shares, pension, maybe some property, maybe some gold, whatever. A mix of things. And over time, it just accrues quietly, on the side, and that's how it's done.
I interviewed Karen Brady once, and she mentioned she was talking about ambition.
Yeah.
And I asked, do you have to be ambitious to be successful?
Oh yeah.
And she says, you know what? Not straight away. She says it can creep up on you. Actually, things can happen day by day, moment by moment, like you said earlier on, and ambition can creep up on you. And that feeling I just got from you there is, spend less than you earn, invest the rest, and your wealth can creep up on you.
Yes, it really can. Debt can really creep up on you.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting, isn't it, to look at that and it hit me again.
Yes, that really can. But once you've got a handle on things, and as you said, money is important. So once you've got control over your money, you're halfway to becoming control of much of your life, really. But once you've got your handle on that, you're not spending stupid money, you've paid off your debts, and that what you've learnt in paying off your debts, you've realised, I can live on less, I really can, I don't have to spend all this money. So that money that you were putting into your debts, you just put quietly into savings, and you don't make a big deal of it, either to yourself or to anybody else. And quietly, imperceptibly, quite often, it just accrues, it just builds up. And then one day you go, oh no, I've got a lot of money. That happened.
That was so nice. That was so nice. Once you control your money, you're kind of halfway to controlling your life.
Yeah.
That was a bit of a blasé point that you made, but it was really powerful, emotional. And, we're talking about richness. And let's come back to the Mary Porter's comment that I made earlier on. I think becoming rich in every sense of the word, I mean, becoming a good person, not just... There was a gentleman who wrote a book called The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind.
Oh, yes.
T. Harv Eker is called.
Yes, I remember that one,
Yeah, The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, and, how to attract that millionaire, which is the classic richness, isn't it? But it does say in that book, money is not a motivator, it's an amplifier. If you're motivated by becoming more hungry and powerful, the more money you get, the more hungry and powerful you want to become.
Yeah.
But if you're motivated by being a good person and giving out to other people, and giving is the best gift in the world,
It is, yeah.
If you're motivated by that, the more money you earn, the more good you want to do in the world.
Absolutely.
So, did you ever read that book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill?
No, I never. I don't think I've read any of these books. I've read my own, but I often find with these, essentially, these are self-help books, really.
This is a real old, 1937, Think and Grow Rich.
Yes, absolutely, and a lot. I've read quotes of his and bits and pieces, and I think, yep, absolutely, and with self-help books, I tend to read the title and maybe the preface and think, right, I've got that. On to the next. It's usually, one fundamental idea. And I do agree. It's like we were saying earlier, there are rich people who feel poor and there are poor people who feel rich. There literally are. Just a friend of mine who used to be a banker said that a couple of days ago to me. She's dealt with rich people who feel poor and poor people who feel rich. And one thing that I wanted to do with my website, moneymagpie.com, is to cover all types of riches. In fact, our strapline is for a richer life, purposely, because it's not, it sounds all sort of goody-goody, but it genuinely is the case that rich is a state of mind. There are, as you say, much better ways of being and feeling rich than having lots of money in the bank. I do honestly look at some of these billionaires. I mean, there are some that we know their names so well, and I feel sorry for them. There's something a little bit wrong with them. And you can see them eyeing each other, and you see this with oligarchs. It's like, who's got the biggest yacht? There's always going to be somebody else who has a bigger yacht than you. There's always going to be somebody else who's got more money, however many billions you've got. And so I do think that Chinese proverb that poverty is needing more is so true, because you literally could be a billionaire and you're going, oh, he's got another billion. I don't feel so rich now because I've seen that other person, It really is a state of mind.
There you go. It is a state of mind. The rich can feel poor and the poor can feel rich. I mean, you've got to be careful of comparing your lowlights with people's highlights. That's a form of self-sabotage, yeah?
True, yes.
Because we all know what's bad about us.
Yes.
And it's easy to look at someone else and, their life's so good.
Yes, absolutely.
Is it always like that?
I think so. I mean, it's Shakespeare said, comparisons are odorous. And it's true. And as soon as you start to compare, then you're always going to see somebody who's got, better family life. It looks from the outside. More money. It looks from the outside. We never know what's really going on in that person's heart and soul. They could be in a terrible state and we don't know. So that's one thing to remember. But the other thing is just to keep your nose out, really, and just work on yourself. I think.
Keep your nose out and work on yourself.
Yes, I think so. I mean,
what is working on yourself?
Well, I think we're back to spirituality, honestly.
That's the highest form of self that you can work on.
I think so. I really do.
I agree with
so.
you. I mean,
yeah.
I've read the books in that area as
yes.
well. I've had the right people around me.
It really is, and it's the simple stuff. It's the simple stuff like being more generous, not just with money, but with yourself, with time exactly, and your tolerance,
and love.
More kindness, just more basic. I am amazed. I mean, I live in London, but I'm amazed at how many people don't smile just as a norm. It costs nothing. Smiling costs nothing, and just you go into a shop, you smile. You go into anywhere, you go in a restaurant, you smile at people. Why wouldn't you?
Are you the dream customer for people?
Well, apparently, there was I used to be one of those awful people who would spend half the day in a cafe, sort of just working on stuff. And I got to know some of the waitresses and the manager of this particular cafe that I liked. And the manager said to me, "Do you know, you're the only person who comes in here and smiles, and that's hundreds of people in and out. And it's nothing special about me." I'm like, "What's the matter with everybody else?"
It makes people feel good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, and it doesn't cost anything, and
look how much you get back.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, oh, look, bit of sunshine, and it's nice if you just go past a stranger in the street and they smile at each other. It's a little something, and it hasn't cost either of you anything. It sort of maybe cost you a little bit of less self or something like that. I don't know what it is, but it's not a lot.
A smile costs nothing and gives everything.
Yeah.
All right, so I've got some quick questions for you here. What's your favourite book?
Good. Favourite novel or favourite book?
You can give me one of each if you want.
Okay, so obviously the Bible, and Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures. So it's all Bible-based. My favourite novel would be Middlemarch, George Eliot. And
your favourite movie?
Some Like It Hot.
Some Like It Hot. It sounds interesting.
Yeah, no, it's a classic. It's a classic. It's got Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon and Marilyn Monroe.
Why? There you go.
It's very funny.
Why do you love it so much?
Because it's fast. It's funny. It has some great lines. It's got some good music in it. And it's one of those escapist movies, It would either... I have a few, on my list, but it's usually Some Like It Hot, maybe Local Hero. Comedies tend to be in my top 10.
There we go. If you could have a superpower,
yeah,
what would it be?
Probably reading other people's thoughts.
Reading other people's thoughts. Yeah, good one. And what's your favourite holiday destination?
Oh, Barcelona.
Why?
I love Barcelona. It's got everything you'd want, really. It's got sea, it's got nice hills, it's got lovely culture, it's got fantastic architecture, really good food.
Yeah.
I love being there, yeah.
What's the famous church?
Yes,
Gaudi.
the Gaudi one, La Sagrada Familia.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that is right. Are you an early bird or night owl?
Oh, I'm really a night owl, but I'm trying to be an early bird. I'm really trying to be.
I ask everyone that question, and most people are night owls.
Oh.
It's winning.
Isn't that funny? It
is, yeah. There's a myth that early birds in business.
Yes.
But there you go.
Yeah.
If you could have one day in someone else's life, who would you choose?
Living or
past or present?
Oh, gosh, how interesting. You see, the obvious answer is, one of the Bible characters, but that's too obvious. So I'm going to say Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, why did you choose Abraham Lincoln?
I'm a huge fan of Abraham Lincoln. I think he is the model of somebody in government.
So give us Abraham Lincoln's top 5 character traits.
Faith, humility. I want to say forgiveness in a way, because there was that one guy.
Understanding.
Yes, forgiveness. I think determination. I think you have to have determination.
And he was a good speaker.
Yes, an orator. He was, but it was because he lived from the heart, and I think that's why he struggled with things like depression, etc., because he lived from the heart.
So let me summarize this to you. This is really interesting. Faith, humility, forgiveness, determination, and living from the heart. What you see as the strong character traits.
Yeah.
You do all them.
I hope so.
I'm picking up all them from you.
Are you? Oh, are you? Oh, good,
100%.
good. Yes, because I'm never terribly sure, but working on it.
All right, there you go. So, who've been the 3 biggest trusted advisors in your life?
Obviously my mother. I say obviously, it's not for everybody, but certainly my mother. From the start, my mother was determined that I would, as she always put it, reach my potential. Same with my brother. There was just myself and my brother. She wanted us to reach our potential, and she particularly wanted us to be confident. She wanted me to be confident because she didn't feel that she was.
And you are confident.
Yes.
From what I'm saying.
Yes. What I learned so many things from her, including the fact that everybody needs a bit of help. This idea of being a self-made man, self-made woman, is utter nonsense. Nobody has that. There's always some other people, quite often quite a few people, helping you here, helping you there, and everything. And I realised from the start, from what my mum used to say about her experience, that everybody needs a bit of encouragement, a bit of something, but quite often it's just encouragement, really. So there's her.
Well, no one's ever come up to me and said, James, the reason I failed is because I got encouraged too much.
Yeah, that's very true.
I've said that a number of times. I copied that. I got it off someone who wrote about that. Yes. Paul McGee.
Oh, right. Yes. No, it's very true. And then there's a friend of mine, Tom, who's not with us anymore. I would put him down. Tom was a full-time healer, actually, spiritual healer. Right. And I got a lot of, actually, one particular time when I learnt the reality of good, that was through him, and I had all kinds of work coming through, all kinds of opportunities at that point. So it was very, very helpful.
It attracted more to you.
Yes. And he was a big fan of Abraham Lincoln as well, actually. Who else? It's hard to tell, really. I tell you, actually, and he'll enjoy this. I think I have one employee who I call him my everything, and he started with me as an intern, and I realised within a couple of weeks that this is a special kind of person, so I immediately gave him a job, and he now runs moneymagpie.com for me. He's been with me 9 years. So Mark, I would say he's made a big difference to my business life just by being his good self.
And if the listeners, if you could recommend the first thing to do for the listeners having listened and watched this podcast, what would it be?
In life or in business or in what?
For the personal finances.
For your personal finances, I would face the tiger. Just stop. Do what I did. Stop. If you haven't done this for a while, stop. Just have a look at what you've got, what's coming in, what's going out. As you say, it's your forecast, your financial forecast. Do a financial forecast. Face it. If it's a bit unpleasant, face it even more. Maybe get a friend, a nice friend or a family member in to hold your hand while you do it. But just take an audit of where you're at with your money. And you might, in fact, I would guarantee you pretty much you'll find areas where you're actually wasting money. You might even find that you've got a gym membership that you never use, or something, you're spending ridiculous amounts of money on car insurance, and you think, what, I could have been spending less on it. Just do that. And I can pretty much guarantee that if you have a look at all your stuff, your outgoings, your insurances, and your gas, electricity and whatever, or have a look at what you're spending on loans and things, you will, I'm sure, make some money, because you'll go, oh, I'm not going to do that, and I haven't put much into my pension recently. Move things around a bit. Just do an audit spend an hour, 2 hours, and you'll make some money.
By the way, do you call it that, or did you just make that up on the spot? It's time to face the tiger.
Yes, I do say that.
Yeah. That is, I'm going to start using that from this
good.
down.
You do that. Yes.
And I will credit you every time I use it. It's time to face the tiger. From Jasmine Birtle. Right. And you know what my favourite part of today is? Spend less than you earn and invest the rest.
Yeah. It's not hard, is it?
What's been your favourite part of this discussion?
Talking about good, the reality of good. It's always good to remind oneself.
Jasmine Birtles, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.